Um, like I said, one of the conversation is actually telling them and preparing them for that the fact that they might lose their father just before he passed away. Having that conversation with them was quite a challenging and a difficult one. First of all, I didn't know how to go about it. And many times I've had family members that knew that my husband was sick saying to me, keep it away from the children. They don't need to know. But they could see all that was going on, that something was not right with their father. So how I went about having this conversation with them, preparing them before their father actually passed away, was that I actually sat each one of them down according to their age and had a different conversation with all three of them, just because the way they think and with the reason and because of their personality. For those of you out there that might have children and you don't know how to speak to your children, how to have certain conversation with them, you might just want to get to know your child properly. First of all, know what your child can take information, how they can take information, and try to break it down to them. Whatever conversation you're trying to have with them that might seem a bit difficult and a bit challenging, know your children, know your child, just and see how you'll be able to break it down to them in terms of if they're quiet, if they're a bit out there, how they would take it. So you break it down to them quite easily in terms of the type of languages, the type of words, the type of words and phrases that you want to use, that you will use. So in my situation with my oldest child, I had a conversation with her regarding her father, my husband, might be able to make it and not be able to make it. I had it with all three of them. But with my oldest one, the way I did it with her was the fact that one day when I was taking her to tuition, I actually, when I was taking her to her tuition lesson, on our way there, we had a conversation, we talked about it. And, I was quite shocked and quite shocked with her response and how she took it, how she took the information. But I prepared her. I let her know that, look, because I told her, your father might make it and he might not make it, but I want you to just not to be upset with God. And I just prepared her, and I had a bit more, using a bit more mature words with her, having it a bit more in form of a slightly grown-up way, but without being for her to understand it, because she's the oldest. As for my two youngest one, I had to kind of break it down a bit more in terms of the words that I use for my daughter, my middle daughter, and for my son. I had to now break it down using the term of saying going to heaven, that he might go to heaven and he might not go to he might go to heaven. That means God wants him home if he goes to heaven, and he might make it and still be here with us, and we can go to the park and have fun together. Those were the kind of words I was using, and having that conversation with each one of them at different time, at different stages. With my two youngest one, I had this conversation with them during the first lockdown and prepared them for it. And having that conversation with the two youngest one at different time, they asked all the questions that they needed to ask. Whereby with my oldest child, she did not ask any questions. She just took the information in and just said her own view, like, well, maybe it's enough for daddy to suffer. He should stop suffering. Maybe it would be better resting in heaven. The way she took it was different from the way my two youngest ones took the information. My middle child kind of cried a bit, shared the emotion, and gave me a hug and she gave me a hug and we, talked about it. She was like, oh, okay, so does this mean Daddy might not be with us? So I kind of broke it down a bit more with her. And, she shared her tears, she cried. Whereby with my son, the way he took it as well, he asked a bit more question. My son being the youngest, at that time he was 4 when I had a conversation with him. Breaking it down with him, I said to him, and I broke it down saying, he's going to go to heaven and be with God. And one day we will see him again with all the angels, and he'll be happy. He won't be in no more pain. And the next thing he said is, Mommy, when I'm 90, I will see Daddy. And I said to him, yes. When you're 90, you will see Daddy. And that was one of the hardest conversations and the most difficult conversation I had to have with my children. It wasn't easy. As I was having this conversation with them on that different occasions, on different times, but quite close to within the same week, I shed my tears as well. I was quite emotional about the whole thing. But I'm glad that I had a conversation with them, because then when my husband now passed away, they were prepared. They were prepared, and they had accepted it in a way, because I had prepared them, so they were not so maybe emotionally damaged. They were not emotionally damaged and broken, because the conversation has been had before the actual death actually happened. I mean, a lot of us out there, some of us, especially I know mainly within the African homes and African families, we don't believe in having certain conversations with our children. We believe in keeping away certain things away from our children. But I would like to tell somebody out there, encourage somebody out there, children, sometimes they're not blind to certain things. If certain things are not going right, they can actually see it and stuff. Have conversation with your children about whatever it might be, but have it with them, knowing your child, knowing your children, and break it down to them within the terms and the language that they will understand. That is just my conversation for you all today. And I hope somebody, this will minister to someone and someone will be blessed from this. I would like to know, what is the hardest conversation? Have you ever had any tough conversation? What's one of the hardest conversations you've ever had to have with your children or any family member? My next video, hopefully to be sharing with you next time, on one of the hardest conversations I had to have with my late husband before he passed away. Thanks a lot for watching. Take care and God bless. See you in my next one. Bye.